Hello, this is step by step. So, without wasting much of your time, we have this equation which reads I is equal to E divided by R squared plus W squared L squared. I is equals to E divided by the square root of R squared W squared L squared. Okay, so this equation, you are asked to make R the subject of the formula, R the subject of the formula, leaving your answer in its simplest form. Leaving your answer in its simplest form. Okay, right. So the first step is to cross multiply. We multiply this I and this whole thing in the square root, which is R squared plus W squared L squared. So our equation transforms to I multiplied by R squared multiplied by the square root of R squared plus W squared L squared is equals to E. Alright, so what we want to do, our objective is to make R the subject of the formula. So we'll do whatever we can so that we leave R alone on its side. That is making the subject of the formula. So to make this R the subject of the formula, we have to make sure we remove this square root sign. Okay, right, but to remove this square root sign, the square root sign, it means to the power half. So to the power half, if we multiplied by 2 or if we square this whole thing, we would have removed the square root. But we also have to square this and also square that. So our expression changes to I squared multiplied by the square root of R squared plus W squared L squared, then this squared. This squared cancels this square root because this one is to the power half. So to the power half squared, it's like half times 2, we get 1. So we have actually cancelled the square root by squaring this. And what we do to the left hand side, we also do it to the right hand side. So that is why we have E squared here. Okay, right, let's proceed. So after that, because we have removed the square root sign, our expression is going to change. It is going to change to I squared multiplied by R squared plus W squared L squared is equal to E squared. Alright, so now our expression is now simpler than this one because we have removed the square root, right? So the next step after this is to we still have the objective. Don't forget, our objective is to make R the subject of the formula, or leaving R in terms of I, W, L, and E. Alright, so the next step here is to divide both sides by I squared. We divide both sides by I squared. So dividing by both sides by I squared will mean that we won't have this I squared. This I squared is going to be engulfed or cancelled by the denominator. The numerator and the denominator cancels, so we have we now have 1. So our expression is going to change to R squared plus W squared L squared is equals to E squared over I squared. So that's the new expression, but we still have the objective. The objective is to make sure that this R is left alone, that is making R the subject of the formula. So the next step after this is to remove this W squared L squared, and so that it goes to this side, then we will be left with R squared. So to do that, we have to make it jump this equal sign and it crosses to this right hand side. Okay, right? So when that happens, you're going to find out that our expression is going to change to our r squared plus w squared l squared is equals to e squared divided by I squared is going to change to r squared is equals to e squared over I squared minus w squared. So there is nothing that has changed much there. We just have put this, or this one, w squared l squared has just crossed the equal sign and changed the sign to minus w squared l squared. That is it. So but the question says, if the question had not just told us to simplify it further or to leave it in its simplest form, we're just going to leave it like that. But now, because our question, the objective, or in the question, it was clearly stated that we need to leave this in its simplest form. So now we have our expression r squared is equals to e squared minus L squared W squared L squared divided E squared minus I squared W squared L squared divided by I squared, right? So that is the expression we now have. So to find r, if we say the square root of r squared, we get r. Then if we say what we do to the right, to the left, we also do it to the right. So if we put a square root here, we also put a square root on the right hand side. So our r will now be equal to the square root of e squared is equals to I squared W squared L squared divided by I squared, right? So this is not the simplest form, because this is the difference of two squares. We can actually leave it or simplify it further. So if the question states that you have to leave it in its simplest form, it means that you have to simplify it up to where it becomes no longer simplifiable, or in its simplest form. Are we together? Right. So now we have this expression r is equals to e squared is minus I squared W squared L squared divided by I squared, the square root of that. Are we together? So all that is in the square root, that is r, right? So since this is the difference of two squares, this one simplifies to e minus I WL expand bracket e plus the IWL. So if you expand this whole bracket, you get to this numerator, then over I squared. So our final answer will now, this is no longer simplifiable, our final answer will become E minus IWL bracket E plus IWL over I, because the square root of I squared is equal to I. So we have made R the subject of the formula, or we have expressed R in terms of E, I, W, and L. So that is how you should do that question. Okay, that is how you solve that question. So if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section. And also, if you have got any suggestions or questions that you want help with, you can also drop them in the comment section. Then please don't forget to subscribe if you want to continue enjoying more content from us. This is step by step.